No, I think we're good.
Karen with newclevelandradio.net, and it is time for What in the World with Paul Seaburn and his sidekick, John Donalo. And before we get started, I just want everybody to know we weren't on last week because, well, a few of us needed a reprieve. That's all I'm going to say. We just needed some time out. But we're back today, and despite Zoom and little glitches it has given us so far today, we are ready to produce one of the best What in the World shows we've ever done before. So,
wow. Thanks for all
take it away.
Thanks, Karen. Speaking of pressure, that's what I was under last week. That's why I was not here. I was the cause of us not being here last week. But we are here this week. I am Paul Seaburn, the host of What in the World, everybody's favorite weird news show. Real news, sometimes strange, always funny. That's our motto. I'm thrilled to be back. It's a nice day in Northeast Ohio. We've got some great stories. Let's get all the introductions out of the way. That first voice you heard in your ear was none other than Karen Hale, our producer, our co-host, and media mogul at newclevelandradio.net, which is our platform. We are one of her basket. Use an Easter term there. Her basket of podcasts. She got some great ones. You know, you come to us for a laugh every week. She's got some great self-help podcasts, all different kinds of informational podcasts. Check it all out there. Go to the top bar, find out where you can download us for free. Don't forget, we're on YouTube. We have photos that go with our stories, so it's always fun to take a look at those there. And follow us, please follow us there so we know you're there. If you want to send us a message, you can send us a message through the newclevelandradio.net website. You can also send me a message on Facebook. You can go to my website, paulseaburn.com, and I've got a link there where you can link up. You can even buy a copy of my book while you're there. What would you say to a naked space alien? We're just plugging everything here. And Absolutely. Speaking of plugging, the other voice in your ear is the guy who'll be plugging. I don't know what sport today's plugging the Cavaliers. My old buddy, our What in the World of Sports guy, John Donalo. Hey, John, how are you?
Hey, Paul and Karen and audience. I'm doing great. Cavaliers started off their playoff quest on Sunday with a 21-point win over the Miami Heat. People are going to be hearing from the Cavs a lot during this playoff series and season. Stay tuned.
Oh man. Oh, an implicit prediction here.
Absolutely. It's rare when I can do that.
Okay, cool. That's good. We'll see if anybody's listening to us in the future. You already know whether John is right or not. So you're ahead of the game. Let's see. What else do I have to talk about here? We've got photos. We've got we got a great show for you this week. I apologize for us not being here last week. You know, technical issues affect computers. They also affect human bodies. And yes, last week was a technical issue of the humankind. So I think we're back to Abby normal, as they used to say on Young Frankenstein. So let's see what we're doing. We've got some great stories today. John, you know, John misses when John misses a show, he's delirious. He is just
That is true. That is true. Yes, go ahead.
So to make it up to John, I've got some Bigfoot stories. I also have a bunch of sports stories this week that are weird news stories as well. So we've got Easter leftovers. You know, 2 days ago was the Easter holidays, and I had some stuff I wanted to talk about last week. So they're going to be Easter leftovers this week. Bears of the destructive sports and cartoon kind. So we got 3 different bears we'll be talking about, 3 different bear stories. The world's most boring TV show, which is from Sweden of all places. We'll be talking about that. Here's a sport, John. Humans racing horses and also humans racing robots.
So, wow, never heard of those.
Completely interesting, completely different and very interesting stories that we may be seeing more of. Barbie's new connection in Ohio. This is a big one here. We'll be talking about that. I've got a Loch Ness monster sighting. I've got Bigfoot updates in the state of Ohio. Plus, we got more odd news. We got world records. We've got trivia. John's got a great sport for us. And then we play everybody's favorite weird news game, Bluff the co-host. So let's get right to it to make up for our lost time from last week. Starting right out with our Easter catch-up. So that's what I put on my hard-boiled egg.
Oh, terrible.
Sorry, we're starting already. Let's get our logo up here while I'm chatting away. Okay, so John, did you color Easter eggs for
Well,
your?
I no. The truth be told, the person that's in charge of the kitchen is Annette, and she actually did a great job on doing the coloring of the Easter eggs. In fact, I think the tradition continues since I was a kid of having hard-boiled eggs that are colored, right? Not so much by me, but family members, sister, mom, and now Annette.
There you go. There you go. Well, it was interesting that a lot of people were talking about how expensive eggs were, and they might not be coloring Easter eggs. On Stephen Colbert's show, he was talking about coloring potatoes. Some people are coloring potatoes, or with Jimmy Kimmel, and he had a great line. He said, our grandparents left Europe so they wouldn't have to color potatoes anymore. They came to the United States so they could get eggs. And here we are back in. So anyways, I was joking around about it on Facebook. And I said in Cleveland, we don't just color eggs, we also color pierogies. And I had some colored pierogies here. How about that?
Wow. Never saw that before, Paul. Wow.
Yeah, that's I'm sure if we had them here, they were sold out in no time at all. Red, blue, yellow, purple, even purple pierogies there. And then I'm looking across the internet and I find this. I wish I could find these here. Pierogi peeps.
Oh,
there's just something wrong about this. I have to say this. I'm going to go on a limb. Now, wait a minute, Paul, Karen, and audience. Something wrong about this. How can you have Peeps pierogi? I mean, I, being as old as I am, can only remember Peeps as being the chicks that you ate as candy. Now we're going to have pierogi. Oh, for me, this is just awful. This is awful.
God, you need to get out more. I mean,
I must. I do something. I don't know.
Every grocery store I went to at Easter time, they devoted an entire aisle just to Peeps.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Multicolored Peeps, all different shapes, all different sizes. They're different animals. It's not just, the little cute little birds anymore, but pierogi Peeps, I looked all over the place. They were sold out in Cleveland. So,
that's good.
Somebody knows where to get them. Yeah. I'll be looking for it. But also, I saw this. Now, this is a combination Peep and Cleveland Easter treat right here. This is the pierogi, this is the kielbasi Peep sandwich. A kielbasi dog. A kielbasi Peep dog is what it is. If for those of you who can't see it, there's a thing called the Cleveland dog, which is a kielbasi or a sausage in a hoagie bun with sauerkraut on it. So instead of the hoagie bun in Cleveland at Easter time, you can get it with a hot dog inside, nestled in a package of Peeps. All that's missing is some green sauerkraut, that would be like grass in the basket, John. That would.
Hey, I'll tell you, Paul and Karen, I didn't think it could get any worse, but now I see this. Oh, this is just wrong too. I mean, I love hot dogs. A hot dog encased in a Peep, man. I don't know.
No.
Can't do it. Can't do it, guys. Sorry.
This is a great way to lose weight. Looking at
Karen, there you go. Karen's got a positive on this one. Wow.
I'll fix that with the next one. Now, this is more traditional. This is the world record, the world's largest Cadbury egg. I personally do like Cadbury eggs, although I limit myself to one a season because they're just too rich for me. Well, this is the world's largest Cadbury cream egg. It's 3 feet tall, 100 pounds. And you can see in the photo, they cut the top off, and you can see it's the white surrounding the yellow cream. So it looks like a giant Cadbury egg. Now, the way they described it, the people in Cadbury, they're in England, if I'm not mistaken, but they compared it to a penguin. They said that this is the size of a king penguin. Now, I've never compared eggs to penguins. I know penguins lay eggs. I don't. That's about all I know. But if the penguin looks like an egg, it obviously needs to go on a diet because that's a pretty big fat penguin there. An ostrich. This might be a good gift for an ostrich. For Easter. That's about maybe a little bigger than an ostrich egg. I don't know. Penguin. Getting back to penguins, they always dress nice. So maybe they're like maybe they're Easter birds. They're dressed for church. So
okay.
I tried to find one here. I have a picture of one. Here's oh, that's it. No, I guess I don't have the picture of the lady with I had a picture of a penguin that looked like it had an Easter bonnet on, but it got lost. I think 100 pounds of Cadbury egg. I think that's what killed Willy Wonka eventually. So
yeah, most likely.
Yeah.
I don't. I thought about this. I was getting ready for the show. What did kill Willy Wonka? I don't remember if he in the
offhand I don't remember.
Wonka World, who Roald, what was his name? I don't remember his last name.
Yeah, I don't recall.
Yeah, the guy who wrote it. He I don't know if he killed off Willy Wonka. We'll find out. Anyway,
and John knows everything about movies, and you don't know this, John?
No, I don't.
I'm actually flabbergasted, Karen, because I'm a movie buff, obviously, and I've loved movies for years, but I'm drawing a blank on this one.
Well, we'll find out. We'll be ready next week. Okay. This was my favorite story on Facebook, and boy, I couldn't believe the comment I got when I posted this story. Lady by the name of Karen Heitelman of Minnesota revealed on social media how she colors Easter eggs. That's why I was asking about Easter eggs, John. So she does them in bulk. What she does is she gets 2 dozen eggs, which is like about $100 worth of eggs. She squirts the food coloring all over them, sprinkles them with baking soda, and then puts them in her toilet and pours a gallon of vinegar on top of them. And that's what it looks like right there. When the bubbling stops between the vinegar and the baking soda, it bubbles all over the place. I'm sure she puts the lid down. When the bubbling stops, she says she has perfectly dyed Easter eggs. I guess she flushes it and lets the
first it's the peeps and now it's this. I mean, come on, what's going on with
I'm
people?
disgusted.
This is awful.
Some people who commented on my Facebook page, they also hate coloring Easter eggs. So they were flushed with excitement when they heard it.
Get the horn out on it. Get the horn out. All right.
Yeah.
There we are. Very good. Very good.
Unfortunately, John, she didn't empty the bowl fast enough, and she has a little white dog, and the little white dog had all different colors all over his face.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, a lot of people said that, oh, this is blasphemous. I said, oh my God, please show me in the Bible where Jesus brought Easter eggs, and I'll be more than happy to take it down. Otherwise, no, it's not blasphemous.
So
however,
I do have a question for the two of you. Okay.
Sure.
I asked my husband the other day, what does the Easter bunny and colored eggs have to do with Jesus?
Right. What did he say?
I don't know.
No idea.
Did he have an answer?
No, he said he had no idea. No.
There's all different answers. And that's what killed Pope Francis. Somebody asked him, what does it have to do? And he said, I'm tired of answering this question. I'm out of here.
Oh boy.
Okay.
Anyways, Easter evolved from a spring festival, and it's a kind of a link to spring fertility. Eggs are fertility. Rabbits are very fertile animal. But no, it's kind of like how a Santa Claus. Where's Santa Claus in the Bible?
Okay.
It's just one of those things. That's the best I can say, and I'm sure there's other people that are going to call us up and say, no, you blasphemed again. No, I didn't. So
Stick to your guns, Paul. Stick to your guns.
So John, when we were kids, it didn't seem like it was that hard to color Easter eggs, but I guess our moms did a lot of the work, and we just
Oh
did
yeah, I know my mom did, and like I said, I mentioned my sister did as well. I always liked to eat them, of course, but didn't like to do the work that was involved with it, right? I mean,
Well, my favorite part, and you'll remember this, so the eggs start out white, and there was this. You used to get in the box a little white crayon, a wax, and you could write on the egg, and nobody knew what you were writing on the egg until you put it in the dye.
That's
and then
right.
The message came out. So I would always write something stupid or something gross, and my mother would always say, "Oh, we just can't put that in the Easter basket now, so you'll just have to eat it." So I did,
Well, there it is.
So yeah, I was loaded up on Easter eggs. By the time I got to church on Sunday morning, I was bloated. Okay, so there's our Easter catch-up for you. Sanitation officials, moving from toilets to sanitation. Sanitation officials in Anchorage, Alaska, were testing their new bear-resistant garbage can. They needed to test them. So they took them to the Anchorage Zoo, and they filled them with food and garbage and all kind of stuff, and they put them in the exhibit with the grizzly bears. So here's a grizzly bear.
Oh boy.
Yeah, completely demolishing this bear-proof container. The other animals in the zoo were demanding, stronger padlocks on their cages after they saw what the bears did.
Yeah,
sure. Yeah. The company was completely embarrassed. It was on TV. Oh my God, this is awful. They did say, though, they thought the Bears should have been penalized because after they tore the cans open, they slammed them into the end zone and they started doing a dance. And they said, that's just not right.
Okay.
So, they hired the wrong people to make bear-proof container. They should have taken them to a pharmacy, to a pharmaceutical company, and found the people who make the child-proof containers. Let them create something. I can't get those off. If a bear can get those off, I'd be shocked.
Yeah, really.
So, if bears are this good at opening stuff, they should be robbing banks. In fact, I was thinking that was the job that Yogi Bear should have had. He was wasting his talents stealing picnic baskets from the park.
That's what he did. Of course, that's what he did. Yeah.
He should have been robbing banks. He could have had his own studio in California, which leads me to my first trivia cartoon question of the day for John. So I have some Yogi Bear sports trivia. Now here I'll start with an easy one. What player was Yogi Bear named after?
Yogi Berra, the catcher for the New York Yankees.
That's correct. I have a picture of Yogi Berra here. Let's see. Does he look like Yogi Bear? No, he doesn't look like Yogi Berra. He's a handsome guy. So what player sued Hanna-Barbera over the name Yogi Berra? Yogi Bear. You know the answer to that one?
Boy, I tell you what, no.
Yogi Berra. He sued them.
Oh, Yogi Berra did
really?
the actual. Oh, yeah.
Wow.
He brought the suit forward. Wow.
I had no idea. He actually sued Hanna-Barbera for defamation because he didn't want a bear. He thought they were going to make fun of him. Yeah, so he sued them, and the judge threw it out of court. They threw it out of the court. The judge said that there was no connection, just a coincidence, which I don't think it was. But so then Yogi Berra. This is a perfect Yogi Berra quote for you, John. He says, I sued the Yogi Bear program for using my name, but then somebody reminded me that Yogi isn't my name, it's Lawrence.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah, right. Okay. Okay.
Typical Yogi. Another, the guy, he was 1,000,001 quotes, and that was a perfect one there.
Wow, yeah.
Okay, here's another one for you. Back to Yogi Bear. What clothing did Yogi Bear wear in the cartoon?
A tie and a hat.
Yes.
Tie and a hat clothes. Karen, that's 2 out of 3.
Yeah, shoes too.
Nope.
Tie, hat. Do you have a vest?
No. But I'll give you a hint. What do you need to tie a necktie?
A shirt.
Mirror.
Well, you need a collar.
Collar. All right. Okay. All right. Okay.
This is how absurd cartoons were when we were kids. He doesn't have a shirt, but he has a collar. He doesn't have pants, doesn't have a shirt, but he has a collar, and that apparently makes him okay for us crazy little kids to watch on Saturday morning. And a hat. Now, do you know why he had a collar? Because Hanna-Barbera was cutting back on cost. They were making so many cartoons that they had too many cartoons and not enough cartoonists. So to cut back on the cost of making cartoons, they gave Yogi Bear a collar, and that allowed them to move his head but leave his body stationary, so that there was like a line that separated. Yeah. So they went from 14,000. It's a 7-minute cartoon had 14,000 frames that had to be drawn by cartoonists. Once they did that, they cut it down to 2,000 frames. So
wow.
Yeah. So John, you need to start wearing a shirt with a collar on it. We could.
Well, I wore a shirt with a collar for years, right, at work. So maybe go back to this look. I don't know. Maybe it'll be all right.
Oh yeah, if we can cut back on cost of the show there.
There you go.
While we're on the subject of animals, the hottest show in Sweden. Oh, this is John. Even you wouldn't watch this. Hottest show in Sweden right now is the Great Moose Migration. Believe it or not, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, there's a show that does nothing but broadcast moose migrating through forest and swimming across the Angerman River. And they said, millions of people in Sweden do nothing but watch this show. I mean, they have to shut down their offices because they said people were just wasting time watching the show and filling out their Moose Madness brackets, to see who would finish first. I was thinking that if the show was hosted by a guy from Baghdad, they could call it the Iraqi and Bullwinkle Show.
Whoa.
Thanks for the horn. We didn't have to prompt you on that one, Paul. Thanks.
God, have you ever been so bored and there was nothing else on TV that you would watch moose walking through the woods?
No, you got to find something better to do than that. I mean, pick up a book. I mean, really.
Pick up a book. Oh, we're too old.
Yeah, you're right. That's true too.
Pick up a book. I mean, think about. Remember the weekend after the Super Bowl. So all the football is over. College football's over. Basketball's barely starting. Hockey's barely. No baseball. You're sitting there. What do you watch? I mean, do you watch like pickleball highlights or I don't know, roller derby?
No. I mean, that's a real problem. Yeah, sure.
But moose, you wouldn't turn to moose. You'd find something. You'd pick up a book.
That's what I would say.
If I want to watch migration, what I do is I go to Costco and I watch people walk back and forth down there.
Yes, you will see lots of migrating people in Costco.
Right. And what else? You get free samples too. So
that's a big draw, I think, for people. They're not sure what they're going to buy. Well, let me have a snack here. Right. Exactly.
There you next thing you don't say that too loud. The moose will start going there.
Oh, no.
So, according to a new survey, this is unbelievable. 1 in 50 men think that they could beat a horse in a 100-meter sprint. Okay. neither John nor I are one of those 50
We
men.
would never get into that type of competition or that kind of contest. That's for sure.
Horses, they said they told horses about this, and the horses were wishing that they had hand, so they could say, "Hold my beer and watch this." You- I told this to my buddy Don down in Florida, and he said he actually raced a horse. He was a high school teacher, and somebody made this bet with him, and he said that he would do it, but he got to pick the distance, and I think the distance was like 10 yards. So
Well,
this is, and I've known Don since high school. He was not a runner. That's why he was the shot putter on the team. The, the only time he ran was after he threw the shot. Then he had to run to the locker room to go to the bathroom. Then he'd come running back. Other than that, you never saw Don running.
uh-huh.
This horse. This is a picture of some horses running here, and obviously outrunning this man. At the end of the race, they interviewed the horse about his time, and he said, well, he could have done better, but he got a Charlie man in his leg, and
Oh,
I know that was a
thank
bad
you.
one.
Thank you. That's okay. Recognized by the horn. That's okay.
The fastest horse ever managed a speed of more than 40 miles an hour. Now, let's compare that to the fastest human, Usain Bolt. Usain Bolt, his fastest time was 27.7 miles per hour during the 100-yard dash. So 100 meters,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. So again, he'd probably beat the horse through 20, 30 yards. But as soon as the horse caught up, that'd be it. Now, they actually studied this. I can't believe this. They have scientists who studied this, and they said that over the marathon distance, humans would win because horses run out of gas after a while, and I don't know, they see water. I thought you could lead a horse to water, but you couldn't make them drink. Apparently, they do get thirsty. So
Okay.
I don't. There's some more information that you didn't think you needed. This is. I'm going to mention. I was going to mention it again at the end. John and I, by the way, are practicing. We talk about being fraternity brothers. We were in college, the college fraternity together. And this week, 2 days from now, as a matter of fact, we'll be talking about it again next week. We will be defending our title in our college's annual alumni trivia bowl. So this is not just. We're not just doing this to entertain you. We're also practicing to get ready.
That's right, Paul. That's a very good motive for us. Very good motive.
So here's a question: if a human can outrun a horse, can a human outrun a bipedal, that means walking on two legs, robot? What do you think, John?
I would like to think that a human could do that.
Good guess. Good guess. This comes from Japan. No, China, Beijing. 20 teams of humanoid robots competed against human runners in the humanoid robot half marathon in Beijing. Here's a picture of one of the bipedal robots running.
Wow.
Yeah. It took him like 2 hours and 40 minutes and 42 seconds, which is very slow. I think the world for half marathon is under an hour. It's like about 56 minutes. And they interviewed the robot afterwards, and he said that he could have run faster, but he went back past one of those tables. He accidentally picked up a cup like the other runners were doing, and he threw the water on his head, and he shorted out 2 of his 5 gears.
Oh, geez.
Now, this is for you. They had a women's masters category, women's masters robot category, and it was won by the fan favorite Rosie Jetson. There she is over there. Rosie Jetson was the winner of the women's masters competition. You remember Rosie Jetson?
I do for sure. Absolutely.
The first walking robot. Another robot dropped out when a fan handed him some Vaseline, and he couldn't find a nipple on him to rub it on. So here's a picture of the winner. That was the robot that won. He got a nice medal there, and his handlers, the handlers were allowed to run with him and hold the remote control to keep him from from stepping in front of any of the humans. The wheelchair, they had a wheelchair division. Wheelchair division was won by an autonomous electronic car from South Korea. Well, I didn't think that was legal, but apparently it was.
Okay.
So so they had these helpers. So I was thinking, the helpers had those little remote control. They should have hired a drill sergeant to yell at the robot, while
Well,
they're running.
that might have been effective. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, you're disgusting. You run like a girl, which came to my mind. He runs like a girl. Most of the girls in that race probably could run faster than me. Even the girl robots. And there's a picture of a girl robot. Look at how good looking this girl robot was in the
Yeah.
very, very nice looking, much nicer looking than the men. She actually got a job after. She didn't win, but this particular one got a job after the race as an athletic sex doll. So
Oh, jeez.
People pay for anything these days, John.
That's what it sounds like. Wow.
Yeah, I know this is one of your favorite subjects. Speaking of sex dolls, a man in Staten Island, New York, damaged 3 homes in his neighborhood when he tried to burn some sex toys in his backyard. And somehow they exploded. Here's what it looks like. I mean, they pretty much demolished 3 homes.
Oh my gosh.
Backyard. It was awful scene here. One of the women, when the houses that was still standing, there's a woman in the window, and they said they could hear her crying as she looked down. Oh, the huge manatee.
Get that horn out right now.
This is what happens when these amateur rocketeers attempt to create models like that Jeff Bezos Blue Origin rocket that looks suspiciously like a sex toy. John, I don't know if you remember this, but back in college, I think we saw flaming sex toys open for the Plastic Ono ban.
I'll tell you, that's a hard one, Paul. That's a hard one. We have to look into that one.
There's a pun there. Thank you for that pun, John. That's a hard one.
Well, it is.
Here's a question for you. Maybe Karen, maybe you can answer this one for us. Can you put sex toys in recycling?
Why not if they're plastic or
I guess that's right. I said even if you can't, it'd be a good way to send a message to the good-looking trash collectors.
I'll have to go in my bedroom and collect them all.
Oh yeah, okay. Wow, I just got I'm having a mechanical issue here. Unbelievable. Yeah, there you can look at the middle of me. I got a cramp in my leg here. Let's see. Let's see if I can show standing up. So I'm gonna do this show standing up for a second here till that goes away. So here's a follow-up to a recent story. The women's Guinness record for the world's largest mouth just changed hands, or jaws, I guess maybe would be the more proper term, when Marie Pearl Zelma Robinson of Alaska was measured. There she is right there. Her mouth was measured at 2.88 inches wide or high. I'm not sure exactly which direction the official measurement goes. 2.88 inches, yeah. Surpassing the previous record of 2.5 inches, which was held by a lady who we talked about, Samantha Ramsdell. Oh. That's Samantha over there. You may remember Samantha and her giant mouth. She is holding her former Guinness World Record there. The lady who won the Marie Pearl, we talked about her before. She's the lady that
yeah.
Picture of, she had the bottom of a wine bottle in her mouth. That is unbelievable. Her mouth, they were interviewing with her, and they said that her mouth is so big, if she's outside and she yawns, she's supposed to notify the FAA to warn planes to
Oh boy.
Her parents poor kid, when she was little, her parents asked the dentist to about getting braces for her. And he said, you might want to consider scaffolding for that mouth.
Oh boy.
So she was the youngest of 7 kids. So she says, she was like when the power went out and the TV wasn't on, her older siblings would get her out and they'd make her do tricks to entertain them. So here she is putting an entire can of chicken broth in her mouth, Jenga disc, half of $100 bill. That seems like a waste of money there. The I could, John, knowing both of our families, I could just see this, hey, the power's out. Go get a can of tennis balls. Let's see if we can do some tricks.
Entertain ourselves somehow, right? Wow.
So the other one who lost the record, Samantha, she called to congratulate, and she said, the winner, she said, I think it was her. I'm not sure because it sounded like a foghorn at the other end.
Wow.
Can you imagine having a mouth that big? That's just
kind of amazing. Yeah, really.
Yeah. I don't. It wouldn't help in a chugging contest. It would help in an eating contest, not so much in a chugging. So it's we were talking about, we like to do stories about Northeast Ohio all the time. So there was a huge sports story that came out of Northeast Ohio recently. I was going to talk about it last week. It's still big news, so we're going to talk about it this week. And of course, if it's it's bigger than the Browns, it's bigger than the Cavs, bigger than the Guardians. That's how big this story was. So it's so big, I had to turn it over to John. So John, why don't you tell us the big news story, sports story out of
yes, I will. Thank you, Paul. So as our regular listeners know, we like to honor local athletes, and there is no bigger local athlete than LeBron James, who grew up in Akron and helped the Cavaliers win their first NBA championship in 2016. LeBron has won many awards in his career, but this may be the biggest of them all.
Oh, is he going to be on a box of Wheaties?
Paul, I have to say no, and it's bigger than that. Mattel recently announced that LeBron James is going to be the first professional male athlete to have his likeness depicted in a Ken doll. You heard that correctly, a Ken doll. LeBron actually helped design the Ken Ambassador doll, which wears sunglasses, headphones, and a blue and white Letterman's jacket with LJ on the left breast, his number 23 on the right sleeve, and Ohio and Crown patches on the other.
Oh yeah, you can almost see him. Yeah, that's right. The he looks he looks like an athlete, which obviously Ken could never look like an athlete. So he's the perfect choice.
Well, yeah, and it wasn't for a lack of trying. Like, think of this. Over the years, Ken has been a basketball player, a football player, a baseball player, a hockey player, a soccer player, a golfer, and get ready for this, and even a boxer.
Here's I found a picture of Ken in his boxing outfit. He looks, this is one of those pictures where you really need to see it. He looks like his hands are covered with macaroni and cheese or in those boxer shorts. Muhammad Ali would never go anywhere near boxing shorts like that. It's really disgusting. He tried to look like a jock, but Ken could never be a true jock because none of those outfits came with the one thing that would make him a true jock, and that is a jock strap.
Well, you know what, Karen and audience, Paul's exactly right, and I think we know who Barbie's favorite jock is now, because you can get the LeBron James Ken Ambassador wherever toys are sold for around $75.
$75. I'm sure you already have yours, John, in the original package, packed away in storage.
I want to get back to you on that, Paul. I'll get back to you on that one.
Well, I'll tell you what, I got another one for you. The next Ken Ambassador doll is coming out, and this is one you're really going to want. It's the Ken Ambassador Bigfoot doll. Take a look at that right
now. Oh, my gosh. Oh, you know what? That's unreal. Look at that. For those of you who can see this Bigfoot Ken doll, it's hard to describe. It's
Coming
indescribable, as a
soon.
matter of
Yeah.
fact.
My little grandnephew saw that. He said, "Oh, it looks just like you, Uncle Paul, except he still has all of his hair and it's the right color."
Out of the mouths of babes, yes.
I love it.
Uh-huh.
All right. Okay. Great story, John. Great story. Good. Congratulations go to LeBron. All right. So, John and I, before we got into the lucrative business of podcasting here, we were in in the business world where we had to you do things like expense reports. So a Sumerian and entertain. So in a Sumerian tablet from the Sumerian culture was discovered at Uruk in ancient Mesopotamia, which is now Iraq. 5,000-year-old tablet. I think I have a picture of it. There it is right there. And
Oh,
they studied this. Experts looked at this, John, and they
yeah.
said that the drawing up in the left-hand corner is not a drawing, but it's actually a signature, which would make this the first signature ever found, the oldest signature ever found. Not only that, it's what they think it is a receipt. It's a receipt for a sale of beer. So this is a receipt that
I've heard of
somebody,
this story. So,
yeah,
actually, I've heard of this story. Yeah, wow.
it was it's much thinner. It's much thinner than most Sumerian tablet. So they think it was a receipt for light beer.
Oh, get the horn going
Oh,
for that one. Thank you.
Yeah.
Very good.
So what they think, John, is that this guy was a traveling merchant, and because the receipt tablet was found next to an expense report tablet. So
Oh, there's a
yeah,
reason for everything. There's a reason for
Chris, that's right.
everything.
That's right. So there was also a receipt that was next to the cash register, wherever this thing was. There was also another piece of paper next to the cash register, which had like a drawing of a guy, and it said, "Don't take any checks from this guy." So, you know,
There you have it. There you have it.
all right. So we haven't had a good Loch Ness monster story in a while. This is a good one. It's interesting. This comes from the armchair Loch Ness monster watcher, Ian O'Fadigan in Ireland. And last week he recorded a disturbance, not one, but two disturbances in the water. Here's a picture of what he saw. Uh, he said he's a pro, so he was watching it, and he said first there was one, then he kept watching, and staring, and there was two. He says on close examination, there were two creatures in this picture. Uh, First one came out of the water was smaller and not as long as the second one. Second one came out higher by 4 feet with a distinct hump in the rear and a smaller one at the front. I believe it represented two Loch Ness monsters, which shows either how closely he watches or how bored he is or how lonely he is, that he's actually watching this stuff and can see in this picture two humps. In fact, I'll put another one up here, John, before I ask you. Two humps. So then he says he figured out what they're doing, of course. He says it could be something to do with breeding, a male Nessie showing off to a female Nessie to attract their attention. That's how lonely this guy is.
He's got an imagination, I think.
Do you see any of that in this picture, John, or in the previous picture?
No, of course not. And I don't know. People's perception of things always amazes me. I mean, again, how you can read into it. I guess I have to use the famous quote: "Perception is reality."
yeah,
That's
you
right.
got it.
That's right. Yeah, yeah. So that's what he thought. He thought he saw two Loch Ness monsters humping. Oh, it must have been Wednesday, and he was
Middle of the week, right? Hump
Hump
day. That
day.
makes sense. Kind of makes sense. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
so I mean, he can see. You're right. He has a good imagination. He says that the one was 12 feet long, the other one was 18 feet long. So apparently, these Loch Ness monsters, like the more petite female Loch Ness monsters, or possibly the younger ones. They're going Hollywood. George Clooney kind of, or who's the other guy? Leo DiCaprio.
Okay.
The younger Loch Ness monsters. So now this shows you what kind of reputation I have in my neighborhood. My neighbor Lee lives 4 doors down from me. She's a runner. She's a true marathon runner. She didn't do Boston this year, but but she does Cleveland all the time and Akron, and she's run New York and Boston. I see her out all the time when I'm out on my walk. So, and she knows that I'm into Bigfoot and UFO. So she sent me a Bigfoot story, John. This is it. This is for
Okay.
so Lee sent me information, a link to the Summer Sasquatch 50-kilometer, 20-kilometer, and 10-mile races at Salt Fork State Park, right down the street from us, outside of Columbus, Ohio. A mere 90 minutes away from
Yes, it's not far. It's not
the
far.
I had no idea it was down there. Summer Sasquatch, 3 different races, 50K, 20-mile, and 10-mile. 50K is not quite a marathon. Um,
Okay.
so June 7th and 8th, unfortunately, John and I are going to be tied up that weekend. That's our college reunion weekend. But
That's correct. That is correct.
yeah, otherwise we'd be down there. We'd be down there at least in the 10 mile. So this is Ohio's national park. I didn't realize this. The largest park, and it's the best place. I know this. It's the best place in Ohio to see Bigfoot and UFOs. Both of them are seen constantly down at Salt Fork. So it's a wonderful place to go. They've got a big convention, Bigfoot convention, coming up sometime this summer. So they said that if doing any of these runs is a great way to see Bigfoot. And the website even included some photos. So here's some runners.
Oh, there they are. Yeah, sure.
And you know it's official. It's got the logo on here.
Got the
So
logo there. Sure. Oh
this
boy.
is an official photo. Now, if you still don't believe, if you're still a skeptic, they even have a photo of Bigfoot filling out his application to run in the Summer Sasquatch run.
Well, he looks pretty determined. That could be the most determined Sasquatch you've ever seen.
And also the most out of shape one too. I don't think he's doing the 50K. In fact, look at the plant that's sitting there. I think he may be high. That looks like a marijuana plant over there.
Well, he's got some kind of expression on his face, that's for sure.
There you go. That could be why he's going through Salt Fork. I think there may be marijuana plants growing there. So what they do tell runners is that it's a great way. This is the perfect race. If you want to set a personal record, a PR is what they call it in the running field. This is the perfect way to do it, because if you've got Bigfoot running behind you, like this guy here, you're gonna be running your butt off for sure. You'll get a PR. Although that Bigfoot doesn't look like he's running too fast there, but
actually, to me, that Bigfoot looks like a human.
Oh, come on, John.
Well, come on, look, he looks like a human. I don't think that's a Sasquatch. I got to tell the truth here. Come on.
Oh my.
Oh, they would never do something like that. Not the good folks at Salt Fork. So we're putting a plug in for both the Sasquatch runs and also the Bigfoot Festival coming up. I believe that's also in June. It might even be that weekend as well. I have some friends who will be speaking down there. It's always a big convention, one of the biggest in the country. So check it out. So, wow, you'd think that with all the sports we had on What in the World this week, that we wouldn't have any more weird sports to talk about. But au contraire, as they say in France, we've still got more, because we've got What in the World of Sports with John Donalo coming up next. And John, as always, I challenge him to come up with a weird sport that fits our theme. Real sports, sometimes strange, always funny. Every week he comes up with one. He's got one this week. John, why don't you tell us what that sport is?
Yeah, thanks for the intro, Paul, for sure. So our sport this week is one that I have never, ever heard of, but it is a very, very interesting sport. Let me explain. The sport is the Annapolis Cup croquet match. Now, it is a croquet competition between two colleges, St. John's College in Baltimore and the U.S. Naval Academy in Annapolis.
Wow.
That's right. Navy plays St. John's in the backyard game with mallets, colored balls, and wickets. Now, according to legend, the rivalry began in 1982 when the commandant of the U.S. Naval Academy was speaking with a freshman at St. John's. This freshman's name was Kevin Hayburn, and he remarked to him that the midshipmen could beat the Johnnies in any sport.
Ooh,
Hayburn replied strongly, "What about croquet?" And the challenge was accepted.
wow.
Now, since 1983, the Johnnies of St. John's have faced off against the midshipmen in a friendly but fierce rivalry for the Annapolis Cup and the bragging rights as to which is the best croquet team in town. Now,
That's a nice cup, by the way. That's a really nice
yeah,
cup.
that's a prize there for sure. Now the match has been played annually, except for 2 years during COVID, and believe it or not, the overall record is 32 wins for the Johnnies and only 8 wins for the midshipmen.
Ooh, wow.
So there's quite a there's quite a difference there. Now,
Yeah.
the Annapolis Cup croquet match is steeped in traditions. The day before the match, the Johnnies have lunch with the midshipmen at the Academy Mess Hall, where the Imperial Wicket for the Johnnies formally challenges the midshipmen to a match. The next day, the match opens with music as the St. John's Freshman Chorus sings and the Naval Academy Trident Brass Band plays. And as for attire, the midshipmen wear crisp U.S. Croquet Association whites, along with a team tie, which varies from year to year.
A bow tie.
Well, yeah, sure. Now the Johnny's uniform changes every year, and it is only revealed minutes before each match. Past years, uniforms have included camouflage, tuxedos, Viking clothing, kilts, and even imitation Navy Cracker Jack uniforms.
Wow.
Now, the game is a 9 wicket croquet match played on a full size court, 100 feet long, 50 feet wide. 9 metal wickets and 2 wooden stakes are arranged in a double diamond pattern. Players advance the balls through the course by hitting them with a mallet, scoring a point for each wicket and stake made in the correct order and direction. The winner is the first side to score 14 wicket points and 2 stake points for each of its balls. For the Annapolis Cup, each side has 12 players divided into 2-person teams. Now, the 2025 Annapolis Cup was played a few weeks ago, and the winner was the U.S. Naval Academy.
There
So
you go.
now there
Yeah.
they are celebrating. So now the Naval Academy has 9 wins against the 32 victories by St. John's College.
Wow.
Now, to kind of wrap things up here, the Annapolis Cup is played in the name of sportsmanship and fun. I guess that means that we'll never see an Ohio State Michigan croquet match.
So
At least in our lifetimes.
No way. No way. Sportsmanship and fun. No way.
Not between those two schools. I don't think so. I don't think that's happening.
That's amazing. That's amazing that two colleges so different, a military academy in Annapolis and St.
Right.
John's, little private school, religious school,
Right. Right.
with such a cool way that it started out with the challenge, and
Yeah.
they get into it.
It's fascinating.
Great. Wow. It's great. I love it. I love that. That was a great sport, John. Thank you so much
Oh,
for
thanks,
that.
Paul. Sure.
But one thing puzzles me. About that you thought that this was such a strange sport. I can't believe that you forgot the big croquet match that we had when we were in college. You don't
Hey,
remember the
no, I tell you what, it's such a long time ago, Paul, and I have a selective memory when it comes to some things. So,
the reason why I can't believe you can't remember it is because instead of playing another fraternity, we were challenged by one of the sororities at John Carroll. One of
no
the
way,
yeah,
no
yeah,
way,
the sort.
really?
Yeah, so the older guys, they said we're not playing against any girls. So of course they sent me and John as the team to represent the fraternity in the challenge. And they were nice girls, John. I don't this just shows you how long ago it was. Here's the girls. Look at, they're in their long skirts. um, they were really nicely, nice field that they had laid out for us to play on. But I can't believe you don't remember this. We were playing, and I think we may have been in the lead, and one of the girls accused me of flirting with her to distract her while they were playing.
How
And the
dare
next
you?
thing you know, yeah, the next thing you know, she whacked me in the head with the mallet here.
Oh
Oh
my God.
yeah. Well, I
You
didn't
don't
want to
remember
remember
that
that.
time.
Well,
Oh my God.
there was so much pain for you. That's why I didn't want to remember it. That's
But
exactly right.
there was an investigation. Obviously, I don't know if I had suffered any mental issues, but there was an investigation, and they brought
Wow.
in the FBI. Here's the FBI agent with the look at the mallet. There's blood on the mallet.
Oh my gosh.
There's
Oh
a
my.
body mark on the ground. That's all I remember. And I was hoping you'd remember something after that. What
Well,
exactly happened?
like I said, I feel for you on that, Paul. That's why I kind of blocked it out of my memory. Wow.
All right. Well, great sport. The croquet challenge. All right. Good. Super sport, John. Thanks again for that.
Yeah, you're
Uh,
welcome, Paul.
Regular listeners know. This is how they celebrated afterwards. The girls. We had to buy beer for the girls, and then we said, "What kind of beer do you like?" Because we don't know what girls drink, and they said Stella Artois, which I should have guessed because it has Stella in the name. A long way to go for that joke. We'll pass down that one.
I don't know. I think you had people going on that one, Paul.
All right. Okay. So let's get our logo down here. So regular listeners know that it's time now for Bluff the co-host everybody's favorite weird news game. Every week I have 3 stories similar to the ones that we've been talking about. One big difference. Those stories are real. The stories in Bluff the co-host may be real, maybe a bluff. It's up to you, Karen and John, to decide real or bluff. Wagering is allowed, so place your bet. Hands on the buzzers, Karen and John. Let's get right to story number 1. There's a common theme to these stories. Let's see if you can figure it out. If you thought Easter eggs were expensive this year in the United States, you should have been in Austria, where egg prices were so high, some towns were forced to use substitutes for their Easter egg hunts. One enterprising mayor, whose town's main business is beer, got the local brewery to donate some empty barrels, and they had an Easter keg hunt. Local artists painted the kegs like eggs. Stores donated candy to fill them with. A big burly brewmeister dressed up like a giant Easter bunny in lederhosen. The colored barrels were so easy to find that the kids decided they want to scrap eggs completely and just hunt for Easter kegs every year from now on. Okay, so the city in Austria who said eggs were too expensive, so they got donated kegs and had an Easter keg hunt this year. Real or bluff? Karen, we'll start with you.
Well, even if it's a bluff, I think it's a great story, and I would love to see that. So I'm going to say it's true.
Okay, Karen says the Easter keg hunt from Austria is true. John, how about you?
Yeah, I'm on Karen's wavelength on this one for sure because don't forget about the drinking culture in that part of Europe. I mean, we're talking Austria, we're talking Germany, and beer is a very important beverage. And yeah, I can see this definitely happening. I'm going to say it's true.
Okay, so both Karen and John say that in somewhere in Austria, little tiny kids, were out looking for giant colored Easter kegs for Easter. Let's check with the judges, and the judges say, if you were paying attention, what Paul said is the little tiny kids with giant kegs, impossible. That was a bluff.
Oh, you know what? Well, okay, we'll accept that defeat, I guess. What's question number 2?
Ooh, I sense some resentment here.
Sorry for the pushback, Paul. It's under a lot of pressure lately.
Ooh, ooh, boy, the little tension in Bluff the co-host
if
here.
you would have laid the kegs on their side, it would have been really easy. You see them, and then you run in and you crawl in and get the candy and come out.
Yeah, I think some people in Austria maybe hear this podcast and think about this for next year. I think it might be something that could work.
We have a lot of fans in Austria, and kids, they probably don't mind that the kegs were the candy was in a beer keg and smelled like beer. They don't, I'm sure they didn't care.
Okay.
All right.
Cadbury beer eggs. Okay, we're gonna move right on here. This story number 2. A few years ago, a man in Brazil was asked to dress as the Easter Bunny for an egg hunt, and he liked it so much that he decided to live as a rabbit all year long. He had a realistic rabbit suit made and modified his house so he could hop around on all fours instead of walking. He sold his car, and stores in the neighborhood let him hop around while shopping there for carrots, leafy vegetables, and knee pads. Unfortunately, he may have to give it up because his girlfriend doesn't want the dozens of kids he planned to raise as bunnies. Okay, so the man in Brazil who played the Easter Bunny and loved it so much he decided to live as a rabbit full time. Real or bluff? John, we'll start with you.
Well, I have to put this one definitely in the category of things that you pray are not true. What kind of person would do this? I mean, he becomes fascinated with a bunny and then he wants to be in a bunny suit. I'm praying this is a bluff.
Okay. John's really good. That the week off had an effect on John here.
Yes, yes, it has. It really has.
All right, John says that's a bluff. Karen, how about you?
I have to agree with him 1,000%. I mean, come on, who wants to hop around on all fours? I mean, like, come on. And he has to get knee pads? No, it's a bluff.
Oh, okay. All right. So both John and Karen say that the man who lives as a rabbit is a bluff. Let's check with the judges, and the judges say, "Well, finally, some good news. You're both right. That is a bluff."
All right, way to go, Karen.
God.
Thank. Like I said in the beginning of my comment, thank God it's not true.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that means the score is 1-1. It's tied. Points are doubled in round number 3, but that doesn't matter. We'll have a winner or we'll have 2 winners this week. So let's check out story number 3. Scotland is better known for Loch Ness monsters and unicorns, which are on their flag, than for Easter bunnies. So the country's leading brewery decided to quit making Easter beer this year and instead release 2 craft beers to celebrate their favorite imaginary creatures. The non-alcoholic beverages are called Nessie Nectar and Unicorn Tears, and come in cans with pictures of the creatures and elaborate stories of how the secret ingredients were harvested from each. No one wants to make unicorns cry for too long, and you have no idea how hard it is to get nectar out of a Nessie. So the beverages are only available for a limited time only. Okay, so the brewery in Scotland that decided to make for Easter Nessie Nectar and Unicorn Tears non-alcoholic beer. Real or bluff? Karen, we'll start with you.
I think this could be real. Now, I don't believe it's really Unicorn Tears or Nectar from Nessie, but I think it's a great ploy. So I'm going to say real.
Oh, okay. All right. I've got a good moneymaker. Okay. Karen says it's real. John, how about you?
I'm kind of torn on this one, but I'm going to have to go against Karen. I'm going against the grain. I'm going to have to say that that's just a bluff.
That's it. It's a bluff. I'm done with this show. I'm done with bluff. I'm done with everything.
No, I'm not getting extreme
okay.
here. I'm not getting extreme. I'm just thinking that I just don't think it's real.
Okay. All right. So
Okay.
John says that the Nessie nectar and unicorn tears is a bluff. Karen says it's real. Check with the judges. The judges say everybody duck. That's a real story. Sorry, John.
Oh
The
boy. This has been a tough week here for me. I'm sorry.
Ah,
Maybe it's the week off. Congratulations, Karen. But maybe it's the week off or something. It's really kind of put me into this kind of mode or whatever. So I don't know.
yeah. Well, this is
well,
proof what we needed to do. We needed to have this show to get you out of the funk that like you're in a slump. So we're getting you out of the slump. So you weren't batting in a slump when we got to our big trivia ball, because then
that's
we
right.
we need you sharp. So so you
Okay.
got all that stuff out of the way. Yeah, that's that's my story. I'm sticking to it. All right, great. So yes, congratulations, Ken. Congratulations to all of you out there who got all of those or many of those right. And that means we've reached the end of another episode of What in the World. I want to thank Karen Hale, our producer, co-host, media mogul at newclevelandradio.net. Please go to the website, check out our podcast, find it on YouTube, check out all the great podcast that Karen has. Also check out her coaching service, Yes I Can Coaching with Karen, which is also our sponsor. Great coaching services there, all kind of great stuff for you. You want to send us a message, she's got a way to do that there. You can go to paulseaburn.com, send me a message there. Go to see me on Facebook, send me a message there. Go to see me on Mysterious'Universe.org, send me a message there. Send me a message, I'm lonely. That's what it's. And as always, I'll be seeing him in 2 days. My old buddy John Donalo. Thanks for all you contributed this week, John.
Oh, you're welcome, Paul. Sure. Hey, Karen.
We're ready to go. We're ready to go for the trivia bowl.
The trivia match. I can't wait for Thursday. That's for sure.
We'll be talking about it next week. So all of you stay tuned for that. And by all of you, those are the people I want to thank the most. Is our listeners, our watchers. Without you, we wouldn't be doing this show. You're the reason why we do it. We hope you have as much fun listening as we do producing this show. And obviously, we do have a lot of fun producing this show. So I think that's it. Barring any technical difficulties.
We're going to sign off with a go Cavs, go
Go
Guards,
Cavaliers.
go Guards,
Go Guards.
go Louisville Bats.
And go for the Louisville Bats also.
Minor league
All three
team, yeah.
teams. Oh,
All
yeah.
right.
The Northeast
Bye,
Ohio